Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for calling in to the 2025 group presentations for Leadership ITE. We're really excited to give 6 presentations today, highlighting a lot of things that the groups have learned over the last year and some recommendations for ITE in the future. We'll start we have 15-minute presentations with 5-minute Q&A for each team. While the team is presenting, please mute yourselves and turn off your cameras. Only the team presenting will be on camera during each of the presentations. During Q&A, please put a message in the chat with your question, or if you'd like to have a discussion with the team, raise your hand and we'll call on you as the questions come in. We will get started right on time with group number 1, the global lights. So Hasnan, if you want to share your screen.
Sure. You guys see it?
Yep, but not in full screen.
All right. All good?
Take it away.
Right.
IT is an international organization of over 16,000 members with a grand mission to advance transportation knowledge, best practices for the benefit of society, and to be the transportation organization of choice. Yet the majority of the world cannot join a local IT chapter today. Why? Because over 80% of sections and chapters are found in the US, 10% in Canada, and 10% split between Australia, New Zealand, and Pakistan. So then, are we, ITE, living up to our mission to advance knowledge and practices for the benefit of all societies? How can we be the organization of choice if most of the world cannot choose us? So this is the reality of Pakistan and many other countries in the world today. A system held together by political decisions, not professional standards. Roads built without drainage, public transportation systems barely functioning, work zones with no clear traffic control, mobility fragmented, unsafe, and unequal. These weren't just infrastructure failures, there were daily risks for millions. Risks created by a lack of technical guidance, long-term planning, and standards designed to protect people and connect communities. Pakistan is not unique. There are communities with similar challenges all over the world. Communities with the exact challenges that IT was built to address. ITE's mission is to advance transportation that is safe, efficient, and accessible for everyone, rooted in best practices, grounded in engineering, backed by a global community of professionals who believe in mobility with purpose. How does ITE do this? How can ITE address these challenges and use its influence to make a difference? The answer may lie in the extraordinary story of a Pakistan ITE chapter, which was born out of the desire of a group of college students to make a positive change in their country, and which was nurtured by the support and investment of ITE leaders and resources. A true example where ITE partnered with local change makers to actually transform a broken system from the inside. Our project goals are threefold. First, to tell the story of ITE Pakistan and to share the spark that birthed the national movement. Second, to pull out their blueprint for success, the critical factors that helped them get started and continue to grow for the last 11 years. And third, to identify how ITE can continue to build the bridge of support between international chapters so that ITE's mission can be achieved around the globe. And with that, Ms. Name will continue the presentation.
Thanks, Ryan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hassan Ali Sayed. Before diving deeper into IT Pakistan, I want to tell everyone that I'm also from Pakistan and specifically from the same university, so I can relate this story to myself. This story shows how a pioneer can take things to the finish line if they have the support they need. Just imagine a group of students sitting in a classroom in the University of Engineering Technology, Lahore, Pakistan, taking an engineering course, questioning the gap and wondered if classroom learning aligned with real world industry practices. What they learned in the class, for example, construction, transit, hydrology, didn't match field realities in Pakistan. Frustration of students keep on increasing as this gap persisted for a semester, prompting students to think critically about their education. A few pioneering students decided to dive deeper into addressing the education industry disconnect. They thought a platform was needed to bring industry professionals to share real world experiences, combine classroom learning with real world experience, encourage collaboration and networking with industry professionals. They formed an engineering society in 2013 to bridge the gap between academia and industry. In the start, it was not called ITE. After 6 months of success, the society recognized the need of the affiliation with the established international organization for a global recognition. The team searched online and discovered the Institute of Transportation Engineers International based in the US. They reached out to the IT International and successfully registered the first IT student chapter in Pakistan, named IT UET Lahore in 2015. The success was IT UT Lahore inspired other universities in Pakistan to establish IT student chapters. Other universities observed the benefits of students and alumni who returned to share current industry practices. Finally, Global ITE registered IT Pakistan chapter in 2022. ID chapters emerge across Pakistan. It's not just one part of Pakistan, South, Central, and North regions. Multiple universities joined with plans for further expansion. More universities expressed interest in forming IT student chapters, indicating a growing network. ID Pakistan chapter expanded to 5 student chapters so far and growing fast. Students drawn to mentorship, scholarships, networking, job prospects. Students become chapter leaders now, provides incentives for attendance, conference and webinars, guide, and national activities through technical and advisory councils. We had the opportunity to interview one of the current IT Pakistan board members to gain some insights. Who is Walid, a rising star, a professional transport engineer working with the state-owned consulting organization National Engineering Service of Pakistan. He's involved in exciting transportation projects showcasing IT's real-world impact transcends in university-level engagement, enabling members to contribute to professional projects in the field. A member of IT Pakistan chapter and a highly motivated individual, he was happy to share that this is his 5th year with the IT Pakistan. He joined IT UT Lahore student chapter, then progressed to a student chapter board, and now he's part of the executive board. ID Pakistan has reached a new level of success and is now collaborating with leading industry organizations and government entities. ID Pakistan organizes Transport Week along with others to promote transportation advancements, also hosts regular webinars on emerging technologies in Pakistan and around the world. From survey insights, current IT students find the chapter highly valuable for their professional development. ID Pakistan influences transportation policies and agency practices in Pakistan, advocates for Vision Zero and trip generation standards. In the global contributions, ID Pakistan hosts transportation conferences to engage decision makers, supported the creations of Pakistan First Safety Authority, contributes case studies, publications, and new perspectives globally. In the student engagement, enhances student involvement through events and networking, delivers continuing professional development programs, build industry partnerships to foster cross-border collaboration. Back to Ryan.
So, three powerful themes emerged from learning about the Pakistan experience that weren't just critical for their success, they're adaptable, replicable, and relevant blueprints for success for any chapter or section looking to be established or grow. Blueprint one, clear and local vision. The success of IT Pakistan hinged on tailoring its vision to local realities. By aligning its goals with the specific gaps in Pakistan's transportation ecosystem, the organization gained traction with universities, professionals, and eventually government stakeholders. The local relevance made the vision not just aspirational, but actionable. Blueprint 2, grassroots student leadership and engagement. Starting a chapter takes time, energy, and a commitment to IT's mission and goals. It could not have been done without the vigor and excitement of budding professionals who genuinely wanted to make a difference in their profession and local communities at a critical point of their careers. Expanding engagement to planning and other degrees further improves the pipeline of professionals. Blueprint 3, strategic partnerships. To ensure long-term chapter stability, strategic partnerships are key. Collaborating with professional certification agencies helps provide training and credentials that attract local professionals. Partnering with corporate sponsorships brings both funding and policy influence. Engaging alumni networks provides resources for supporting younger members, and connections with IT international advisors helps chapters better integrate with the broader IT community. So what can we do with this blueprint? We can use these takeaways to improve the IT experience domestically and internationally by showing how IT Pakistan can benefit the larger IT community and how IT leadership can improve their support of international chapters. So why it matters to you, IT leaders in membership. Building and maintaining chapters is hard. IT chapters around the world can learn from Pakistan's proven success story. In addition, it aligns with IT goals to advance transportation knowledge and practices for the benefit of society. IT isn't just a vehicle for networking, but is driving actual change in professional and policy decision-making in Pakistan. It's our professional and moral obligation to encourage mobility safety for all users, no matter their nationality. It empowers and enables local students and professionals with the tools and skill sets to reach the mobility goals that are important to their community. Our first ask of IT leadership to strengthen the bridge with international chapters is to reinforce local vision and grassroots leadership. When goals come from the ground up, they reflect real local needs, and that's what leads to long-term success, not one-size-fits-all solutions from the top down. Next is a best practices guide for starting international chapters. This could be a formal document or a dedicated page on the IT website, something easily accessible anytime by any member, who would offer quick, practical takeaways on how to build local connections and launch a chapter. Most importantly, it would include lessons learned from all international chapters, including Pakistan. Having this resource readily available reduces the need to formally reach out and helps empower members to take action on their own. Finally, we recommend expanding the international district team by creating a committee of liaisons for each international chapter, so chapters have direct, accessible support rather than relying on one director. With the upcoming international director vacancy, it's a great time to add this support and strengthen the connection with international chapters. In addition, we plan to publish an IT journal article highlighting the Pakistan chapter as a case study to share their lessons learned and expand the reach of their experience to the broader IT community. All right, to recap, we wanted to showcase the amazing story of the IT Pakistan chapter and how the vision of a group of students became a national movement. Share the blueprint of the essential lessons gained from their experience for building and sustaining international chapters, and identify how the bridge between international chapters and IT can be improved. It takes both sides, the drive of local professionals and students, in addition to the support of ITE for IT chapters to succeed. We're happy to answer any quick questions before we leave you with a final message.
Thanks, Global Lights. Again, if you have any questions, please either raise your hand or start putting them in the chat. I'll start with a question of my own about making sure that there's sustainable growth when creating these new student chapters and ultimately larger chapters. Have you looked at sort of how much staff time would be needed, or how what other resources would be needed, knowing that time and volunteers are sometimes hard to find?
I think that could definitely be flexible, especially considering the level of establishment a current chapter may be. For example, Pakistan maybe need a different level of engagement than a completely fresh student chapter in a country that doesn't have any current established chapter or whatnot. So, and that could be, I think, something that was important in Pakistan's case was having a member from Pakistan who was living in the U.S. act as a bit of that liaison. So instances like that, you can find more motivated individuals with that special connection there that provide the time and energy needed to help them get started.
Great, thanks. Again, and a couple questions in from the chat. First, from Karen, how many student members in Pakistan versus how many professionals?
I can answer this question. So, as I said, I'm from the same university. So, in my university, we had 4 sections of 100 students each class, so 400 students of each batch. Typically speaking, we can have about 300 members from the students. And speaking from the professional side, as I talked with the founder member, and he said that this organization keep on growing, and we have about registered 500 people, professional from the industry.
Great, thanks. Next one from Steve. Are there other countries or locations that you might think would be immediate targets of opportunity?
Yes, I can answer this question too, as well. I saw that there are already some registered student chapters under the IT umbrella. We can reach out to them. For example, University of Jordan, University of India. There are 2 universities in Bangladesh, so they're all already part of the ITE International. So we can share this success story with them. And as this is student power, the student it grew out of the university, so they can just follow the same pattern, and hopefully they will be the independent chapter one day.
Great, and then
Oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, Ashley Orr here, that I think just kind of piggybacking off of what Hasnain said, it is very important that the desire, right, to start a chapter is coming from the students and is coming from, being born out of local need, I guess, is what we were saying in the presentation. But that's really, at least what we saw from Pakistan's experience, that's really the only way that it will be, a sustainable, once it gets started, that it sustains itself from the inside.
Great, and Karen's question, I think, her follow-up question builds on that. Where I'm going with that question is, do most of the students go on to become professional members in Pakistan?
Yes, so that's what it is. So the people who started this chapter, ITE, UET, student chapter at Lahore, the very first chapter, 2015, 2 of them are right now on the advisory board, and they told me that gradually the students graduated from the universities, and they joined the bigger board, which is ITE Pakistan chapter.
Great. And then one question from Anna Maria. Do you know if any IT Pakistan members also participate in the virtual spring meeting, or if they are able to come in person to the annual meeting?
Yes, I believe they are interested to join the spring meeting, and I believe they did one in the past as well.
I'll add on that. I know that was something that was shared by Waleed, that having international members have a larger presence in international meetings is important to actually generally show that like ITE is international. So I know it does happen now, but having that more regular presence of international members at the larger international conferences is important to generally ingrain the foreign or the international districts into the domestic activities.
Time.
Thanks. Do you want to go ahead and wrap up?
Yes. On the left, you see where we started: disorder, disrepair, and decisions made without data. On the right, you see where it's headed: safer streets, smarter systems, and a generation of transportation professionals equipped to lead with vision backed by ITE. ITE Pakistan continues to grow, and more alumni of these student chapters step into the workplace with the tools, knowledge, and support to enact real change. This is what ITE's global impact can and should look like as we celebrate success stories, distill their blueprints for success, and ultimately create a network of support through ITE that empowers professionals around the world to transform the communities. We truly believe that this is what ITE is all about.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Globalites. Next, we'll have Team 2, the Invite, share their presentation.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Herman from Team Invite, and we're here to discuss our plan to bring new transportation professionals to ITE. So let's start by imagining a hockey team that was comprised of all goalies. How many games do you think that team would win? And I mean, no offense to any goalies that are listening today, but probably not very many. And that's because it takes a variety in positions, skill sets, experience, and mentalities to be a successful team. You want a mix of younger stars with endless energy and veterans who have learned from their years of experience. A mix of left and right-handed players, a mix of skilled puck handlers and defensive bruisers. But why am I talking about what it takes to form a successful hockey team? And how does that translate to ITE? The same concepts about having a well-rounded team can apply to a team of transportation professionals and to ITE as an organization. Can you imagine a membership made up solely of engineers? Or can you imagine attending an ITE event where every attendee was the same age? Luckily, this isn't new news to ITE. You all have known for a while that membership needs to have a mix of educational background and years of experience. ITE has striven for a balance between public and private members and knows that varied transportation skill sets and project experience is valuable. ITE has changed its tagline to a community of transportation professionals to be more inclusive of anyone involved in a transportation profession, and in recent years has placed emphasis on recruiting and retaining students, young members, and transportation planners. But where does ITE go now to continue to grow the organization? And what is ITE's ultimate goal in doing so? Well, in hockey, organizations try to build a well-rounded team so that they can raise a trophy at the end of the season. ITE's ultimate goal or trophy is to improve the transportation industry. But again, what's that missing piece to the ITE team? Well, our first, but not only target to round out the ITE team is transportation policy professionals. ITE does tend to have good participation from DOT staff who develop national, state, or local policy documents. You think the NUTCD or a state standards document, but not necessarily from those involved in transportation legislation. Yet so much of what we do as transportation professionals is controlled by policy or legislation. And those involved in developing or supporting that policy or legislation belong on this team. We're striving for ITE to be a place where all transportation professionals have productive conversations and learn to work like a team. Because once we're all in sync, that gives us a much better shot at achieving that ultimate goal of improving the transportation industry. So to emphasize why our team would like to better connect policy professionals with others through ITE, we wanted to highlight a few examples as to why policy and legislation are so important in our industry. Our industry is consistently adapting to the most current grants or funding streams that are available for projects, because we go where the money is. So if you take the Safe Streets and Roads for All, or SS4A program as an example, this program was created by legislation and led to $5 billion worth of safety-focused plans and projects over a 5-year period. So in this case, legislation itself kickstarted a whole host of projects. But if we go a step further, we can look at how policy and legislation can then limit what professionals can achieve through one of those projects. If you think about red light or speeding cameras, it's an example of an improvement that spans engineering, technology, and enforcement approaches to improve safety, and how technology can be a huge help to an understaffed enforcement agency. Yet some states don't allow the use of cameras, and for the ones that do, some have restrictions on where they can be used. But if you go even deeper, some states also have regulations or restrictions that make the use of cameras undesirable by law enforcement agencies, such as a requirement that every infraction be reviewed and approved by an active law enforcement officer before a citation can be issued. The person hours needed for those reviews can almost amount to a full-time job for an officer. So despite these cameras being innovative countermeasures that have the potential to change driver behavior and reduce fatalities and serious injuries, some agencies are actively choosing not to implement them because the process that was created through policy and legislation is too cumbersome. If lawmakers and policymakers have the knowledge to understand both the need for this technology and the implications of undue restrictions about its use, there may have been an opportunity to create a more implementable process the first time. How about another example? Did you know that 14 states don't currently have a primary seatbelt law, meaning an officer can only cite a driver for a seatbelt violation if they are pulled over for something different? Or that 21 states don't have a hands-free law to prohibit drivers from using their cell phones or other devices while driving. Well, to achieve ITE's vision of a safer transportation system, we need to recognize that policy does matter. And we want to advocate for policy and legislation that can truly make a difference. We need the right people in the room for conversations about transportation policy to be effective. And our team's goal is to invite both more policy professionals to ITE and then to encourage sections and districts to create more opportunities to discuss policy and legislation at ITE events so that we can better connect the needs of transportation professionals to those developing our policies and laws. So let me introduce you to the Invite team. Like the well-rounded team we're striving to create within ITE, we are a mix of public and private sector employees, and we have a mix of transportation skills and experiences across several states. My name is Mark Herman, and I've been very pleased to work with Sarah Peterson, Justine Hull, Leo Ledesma, and Jeremy McGuffey. And I'll turn it over to Jeremy now to introduce our team's project.
All right, thank you, Mark. So Mark got you familiar with the problem. That is, ITE is missing key players. And then he introduced you to the Invite team. Now let's talk about our team's product. First of all, how does a team win a game? They execute coordinated plays, which allows them to score goals. With enough goals, they are victorious. The same thing happens within ITE. As Mark was mentioning, by executing plays or strategic actions, such as those I'll be showing you shortly, you score goals such as enhancing dialogue within ITE, and ultimately you win the game by improving transportation. Our deliverable is a set of 2 recruitment playbooks. One contains a series of plays or actions that are specific to policy and lawmaking professionals, and the other is a general series of plays that can be implemented for any non-engineer professions. Both playbooks include actions that can be taken at each level of the ITE organization to engage those non-engineer professionals. This ensures that everyone can play a role in recruiting a more diverse membership. First, let's focus on the policy professionals group. This is what we've been talking about all along, right? This group would include agency executives, appointed staff, elected officials, and even non-elected community leaders. As Mark mentioned earlier, these individuals all play a role in the creation and enforcement of rules, policy, and guidance, which directly impacts the work that we do and how we do it. This playbook includes actions that can be taken by each level of the ITE organization to encourage policymakers and lawmakers to join the ITE team and actively participate in transportation dialogue. So while the playbook itself has many more plays, I selected one example from each level to highlight how everyone can play a role in this initiative. First of all, let's take a look at the ITE International play, such as development of briefings and white papers on transportation policy topics. Next. An example at the district level would be hosting sessions on policy, rulemaking, and legislation. And then finally, at the section and chapter level, would be inviting transportation agency executives and policymakers to the meetings directly. So now I want to take a step back and look at the general playbook. As I mentioned, there's 2 of them. This playbook contains plays or actions that can be taken at each level of the ITE organization to encourage all other non-engineer transportation professionals to join the ITE team and actively participate in the transportation dialogue. This group can include finance, real estate, highway and street maintenance and operations, and industry stakeholders, amongst others. Similar to the policy playbook, I want to provide some examples to highlight how this playbook can be used to grow the non-engineer membership within the ITE team. First, let's look at the ITE international level, offering free and reduced membership to non-engineering members. Districts. This would include offering and promoting training or certifications that would interest non-engineers. And then finally, the sections and chapters, this is a more direct approach, would conduct direct outreach to groups of non-engineers. Next. So you may be asking, what's in it for me? Well, by implementing a coordinated series of plays or actions, ITE scores a goal. And here are some of the goals that ITE can score. First of all, transportation community engagement. It's big. Knowledge sharing, technical program development, and then finally, influence in transportation topics. Obviously, by having everybody at the table, we can create a much more robust discussion on these topics, specifically policy. By recruiting policy professionals and other non-engineers onto the team, ITE will benefit from new viewpoints, broader knowledge, and in turn will truly become a community of transportation professionals. So let's take a look at the bigger picture. In hockey, a well-rounded team will win games. But in ITE, a well-rounded team will lead to a better transportation system for all. By including policy professionals and other non-engineers in the discussion, we will all benefit from a safety-focused and practical policies, collaborative solutions, and community-driven decisions. So what is our ask? What do we need from you? To ensure the effectiveness of the INVITE initiative, we are asking for your support in implementing both playbooks across ITE. Here are the steps we have identified. First, we would need to send the playbooks to ITE leadership. I think that one's obvious. Second, we want to make sure the playbooks are accessible on the ITE website. Once the leadership at ITE gets on board, we want to get these posted so that everyone can access them, everyone can look at them, and we can get concurrence. Lastly, we would incorporate plays into ITE activities. All three levels that we mentioned, international, districts, sections, and chapters, we would start incorporating those plays or those actions into ongoing ITE activities. Next. So as Mark mentioned at the very beginning, a hockey team with all goalies won't be very effective. Neither will a transportation team with all engineers. So let's build a better, stronger team together. We owe it to all those who rely on us for safe and efficient roads. Thank you for taking the time to learn about this initiative, and we invite you to use both of these playbooks. And at this point, we welcome any questions.
Thanks, Invite. Again, if you have questions, start putting them in the chat. My question to you is, are you looking at this on the local, state, federal level specifically, or kind of depending on the meeting or topic, you would focus on different groups? Do you have thoughts on that?
I think it is all at once. During our discussions, and my perspective is mostly from the state, but also because I work for FHWA now, it's the federal, but we realized during our discussions that these topics affect us all equally. So it's good to involve people at all levels of the government, at all levels of ITE as well.
And then a question coming in from Karen. Have you thought of the pros and cons of having these non-engineers be members of ITE rather than just partnering with other organizations that these non-engineers are already members of?
So specifically to the policy professionals, many of the folks who are not part of ITE are likely not participating in some of these other groups, or at least the ones that I deal with directly. On the topic of the policy professionals, there were some individuals that we had mentioned, particularly in the presentation, that you won't see typically in these transportation forums, like the lawmakers, getting your local politicians involved. But we also talked about activist groups. There's a lot of people who advocate for, safe biking and travel conditions, multimodal safety. These folks aren't generally involved in ITE specifically either. So I would think it's important, if we want to have the outcome be what folks want it to be, then we need to get these people involved up front rather than hearing their concerns after the roads and bridges are built.
And I'll also add into that in terms of the plays that we're recommending in this playbook, we really have a mix. Some are focused on trying to attract new members, which the obvious benefit being some additional dues that are coming to ITE. But a lot of our plays are really just focused on having more of these conversations. Whether or not those people become full-time members or not, if we can encourage more of those conversations to happen at ITE events, that's still a success.
Thanks. And then from Tuha, how do you ensure that the membership won't be too diluted? And Tuha, if I'm reading that correctly, it means sort of like end up having too many presentations that are not really engineering focused or don't really talk about engineering solutions. If you have other thoughts, you can put in the chat or come off mute.
Yeah, I would challenge that point of view with the whole redirect of ITE's branding to the community of transportation professionals. If you think that involving other people who are not engineers is diluting things, then we might need to reevaluate what the branding of ITE is. And this is coming from me as a non-engineer myself. And that's why this project particularly hits home for me is for the longest time, I didn't participate in ITE. For about 10 years, I got the ITE magazine when I was working with the state, but I didn't participate because first thing you do is you look at the acronym. You Google the acronym and it comes up Institute of Transportation Professional or Institute of Transportation Engineers. And for the longest time, I didn't participate because I didn't think that that was the group for me. And it wasn't until being able to interact with some of you guys that I've realized that that wasn't the case. And now we're starting to have more productive discussions that are cross-cutting because it's not just engineers talking amongst themselves. Like Mark said, it's not just going to be goalies on the team.
Thanks. A question from Becky. Even if free or reduced dues are offered initially, did you discuss how to obtain employer support from these groups?
Not specifically. We've talked about existing structures. From my background with state DOT and federal highways, that was really what we looked at on our end. But obviously, it's not sustainable to continue with a free due for everyone. Mark, did you have any thoughts on that?
Not any immediate thoughts. I think we'll have to circle back, and I think looking back and taking some lessons learned from the planner initiative from a couple of years ago, the free and reduced membership lasted for a few years and then retention became difficult. So I think moving forward, it's important to have some more conversations with ITE related to what went well and what didn't so that we can try to improve upon that process moving forward.
Time.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see in the chat, Rachel, thanking Jeremy for your story, reinforcing
Appreciate
IP
it.
rebranding. It will close out questions, but you can continue if you would like to respond in the chat. Thanks, Invite. We will move on to the next team, Unite Locally. Go ahead and start your presentation.
Great. Thank you all for being here. We are Unite Locally, and we're excited to talk to you about how we can connect ITE sections through data. So to do that, let me first introduce Dave. Dave is the president of the Gateway section of ITE's newest district, the Missouri Valley. He's really passionate about bringing people together, hosting events, and supporting young professionals. And he helps plan all of his section events, luncheons, technical presentations, social gatherings. He started as the social committee chair and worked his way up, and now he's proud to be the section president of a thriving section, in his opinion. He also attends these events to network, he builds relationships, he fosters local, strong community transportation networks, and he invests a lot of time and passion into helping his section thrive. But Dave has a lot of questions when it comes to how his section is performing. Once a year, he gets asked by district leadership, how should he classify engagement? Is it high? Is it medium? Is it low? Does he have student participation, volunteer, member participation? Is he thriving? Does he need support? All open-ended questions, but Dave doesn't know. Dave doesn't know how to answer. From his perspective, things are going well, but he doesn't have anything to benchmark to. How many members are actually engaging? What kind of events work best? How does his section compare to other sections of his size? What are the other sections of his size? Where can he find any of this information quickly and clearly? And the truth is, Dave doesn't have an easy way to answer those questions. Membership data is siloed, annual reports are inconsistent, and there's no shared place to learn what the other sections are doing. Dave needs data. Fortunately for Dave, this data exists. ITE collects a lot of this data, both through membership information as well as annual reports, but that information in its current setting sits and is in disconnected spreadsheets or isolated submissions and hard to compare and hard to be utilized as a tool. ITE has a wealth of valuable data, but not in a format that can help leaders like Dave turn it into action. Dave, like a good section leader, produces annual section reports. So do Dave's peers. Much of that reporting happens in different formats, which we'll get to, but reports are generated nonetheless. So Dave and his friends and peers ensure that those reports get turned into the district, but they submit their reports, and then what? He doesn't get feedback, and he doesn't see the other section reports. It never makes it to Dave what the other sections are up to, and he has no idea where he fits in relative to other sections across ITE. And if he's honest, he doesn't even talk much with the other sections in his district. So what's missing here is the exchange of information at the section level. Fortunately, our team has a solution to Dave's challenges. We've taken available membership data and annual reporting to develop a membership dashboard, which is what we're here to talk to you about today. So first, membership data. We know that ITE already has access to this data, but right now it's not being fully utilized for section benefits. Section leaders might get an annual snapshot of how many members they have, if that's grown or not, but we know that there's a lot of information that could be helpful at the section level if made available. Information like the type of employment, public, private, student, planners or not, that type of information could help inform Dave's programming choices. Information like top employers, that could direct Dave towards potential sponsors. And it's just not easy to dig in right now and know what Dave's section looks like, let alone compare himself to others. The second part of the dashboarding tool is section reporting, which Shofiq will speak to.
Thank you, Ray. So we looked into the section reports as a potential data source to gain insightful information about section activities, like what are the section events that are most successful in getting membership engagement, what are the kind of events that most of the members are inclined to attend in person or virtually, whether the section offers scholarship, and what kind of funding budget they have for these scholarship funds. These are all very valuable information that we can get from the section reporting. And as Dave was looking for data, Dave needs all this valuable information. But upon reviewing all the annual reports that we have collected so far for our this project, we have noticed all these reporting structures are varied from section to sections. Dave and people like Dave from other section leadership has their own perception of working and developing this report. As a result, the data are inconsistent, the data quality and detailing are inconsistent, which fails to give a unified format to get better understanding of the section activities and performance. This reporting structure, existing reporting structure, is also very time consuming and takes a good chunk of effort for Dave to fill in to every year based on the section activities. Also, the accessibility is also very limited because only Dave and few folks from the section leadership generally has access to this annual reporting structure. Hence, we worked on a new digitized format of annual reporting, which should be very consistent in terms of getting all the important data from all the sections. This new digitized format that we worked on can be used by all the sections of ITE in the whole world, which eventually would be very helpful getting the organized data. And this data can be plugged in to get better inside information about the section activities, what are the events are most successful, what should be a good lessons learned for Dave where he can look into other section annual reporting and see what are the events are most successful in bringing more members, or what are the events are most successful for bringing student members. All those kind of information are easily accessible and in the usable format in this report. Good thing is our team has already worked on this format as a preliminary format. IT can use this, utilize this, and improved upon of this structure to fine tune and formalize an official format, which would be very easier, less time consuming for people like Dave to fill in, with less ambiguity and less sense of vagueness in figuring out what would be the answer to specific reporting questions. This new format used number-based facts, which can be easily quantifiable for Dave. With that, I will give it back to Ray to present our membership dashboard.
Great, thank you. So we've taken membership data that we had access to, some preliminary reporting structure, and put that together into a proposed membership dashboard. And we're pleased to share a demonstration with you now on how that dashboarding tool can support someone like Dave. So here's a glimpse of the dashboard. This will run through a demo here, but what we're looking at is the district information that we've had access to. So we can sort by district, by section, we can sort by membership type, public, private, student, retired, and we've got charts to show that breakdown at the district level, at the section level. We've taken steps to clean up company information, respelling Himmelhorn 12 times to figure out membership by company, where that membership lives, as well as membership type, public versus private, student, retired. We can also see the number of members that have been added over the years, noting the spike in the last 10 with some intentional efforts by ITE. So now let's answer Dave's question. So Dave is in the gateway section. We've selected the gateway section here. We can see Dave's 70 members. What jumps out is that over 60% of them are in the public sector. That's a lot higher than what the overall ITE number was. City of Springfield and Missouri Department of Transportation are where those members primarily are employed, and 56 of the 70 members live in the city of Springfield. And that can help Dave understand, he still needs to appeal to other areas of the section, but he knows he can concentrate events there in the city of Springfield. Oops. All right. Next, Dave wants to know what other sections are like his. So he can use this dashboard to peruse and see. He's kind of down towards the bottom in terms of the number of members, but he's looking at these other smaller sections to see if there's any similarities. So Montana, there's 94 members in Montana, but a lot of them are private, so that might not be the best comparison. What about the Brazos Valley section in Texas? Well, a lot of them are employed at Texas A&M, and so that might not be a good comparison either. Dave lands on New Mexico, where there's 125 members, but the majority of them are actually public, and so there's some similarities there, and Dave wants to know more. So he goes over to the section filter, he selects New Mexico, and he sees updated information here with all of New Mexico's stats. New Mexico DOT is actually the #1 employer, which sounds to Dave a lot like what his section looks like. And now he has insights and can reach out to the section president of the New Mexico section to get more insights on what they're doing to outreach to private employees, what they're doing to engage the DOT, and questions that are relevant and specific to Dave. Now, this dashboard tool also has some other bells and whistles built in. We also have it structured so that it's pulling some membership data from the disciplines. So using the word cloud here, this shows the word cloud of how everybody categorizes their job description. And then we took that one step further to break down the public agencies using keywords like city of or town of or state department of to categorize whether public agency employees were local or state. From there, we can filter back to Dave in his gateway section and get updated information. He's got a lot of professional engineers, which isn't surprising, but he does have 3 planners or 3 people that put planning in their job description. And then he can break down that public agency demographic a little further and see that local agencies are the most represented within his membership. Again, this can help him make important programming decisions. And then lastly, to integrate the concept of the reporting tool, there's a tab that's been established and populated with just a couple theoretical responses from sections so that Dave can see how he compares to other sections. So in this example, we have the Greater Vancouver section and the Gateway section. We see Greater Vancouver has 10 events a year they're reporting to Gateway's 6. But with the combination of annual reporting and membership data, we can normalize what that means. So considering the number of attendance at the Greater Vancouver section events compared to their membership, what we actually see is that the Gateway section has close to 60% participation at the events that they're hosting compared to the Vancouver section, almost 10%. So imagine how pleased Dave is to find that his section is doing well, and he can see himself benchmarked to other sections and know where his opportunities for growth are, as well as how to respond accurately when asked at the district level. So our ask to you all is to help us make this dashboard a reality. We are seeking ITE headquarters support to adopt and promote a section engagement dashboard as the strategic tool to improve membership engagement insights across the whole ITE platform. To do this requires 2 key steps. 1, freeing basic membership data. We've identified the fields we need. It's not the public identification information. It's the fields that will help support Dave and others to make decisions and see insights from their section. 2, set the standards for section reporting and digitization. We've laid out how this could look. Shofi talked through what we have proposed for that section reporting, but digitizing this will be a big step. It'll save sections time, and it'll make it easier for IT headquarters to get consistent reports that are comparable to themselves, and more likely to get more reports from more sections who will do their reports when it's an easier platform to do it. Once those 2 steps are completed, we've already built this dashboard tool, and with minor updates needed, this tool is ready to go, and headquarters can deliver these insights to every section. The use of this tool could result in faster and more comprehensive section reporting, as well as more effective sections. And that would make Dave and all of the other Daves out there very happy. With that, we'll turn to questions.
Thanks, Unite Locally. You've got some questions coming in, first from Karen. I love this dashboard idea. It does rely on someone from each section to input data every year. Many sections don't submit an annual report now, though I know this would be an easier ask. How might we incentivize sections to get their data on the dashboard?
Yeah, that's a great question, Karen. I think the way that we envision this is, at least for some of the fields of data, that could be housed within the headquarters platform. And so, I mean, simply put, sections that don't report would not get these types of insights. But I think seeing this dashboard tool and bringing the kind of transparency of data to the forefront would likely increase that participation from the other sections. And so with that reporting platform, the goals of digitizing it is that it comes as a clean tabular export. So by them simply doing their report in a Google Forms format or a Microsoft Forms format, it would already output in a format that just is automated and uploaded into the dashboard. So there would not be that extra step of sections to take their report and then upload it to the dashboard. The dashboard could read it from the tabular export.
Great, thanks for getting some comments in about how great this tool is. I have a question just about who you talked to while you were developing this, and sort of, each of your, if you have experience in the district sections and chapters, sort of how this project came about and who you got input from.
Yeah, I can start, and then if anybody else from the team wants to jump in, please do. I think this project came to us as we were all sitting around as a group of 5 talking about what our sections did, and we found that there was a lot of themes, but also inconsistencies and things like, oh, I didn't know that people even did that kind of thing. So it just kind of daylighted the fact that there is this disconnect at the section level. Personally, I'm in the Mountain District, and I'm part of Colorado, Wyoming, and I think we do coordinate at the section level, but I know not every section's like that. And so I think just through kind of organic conversation with the team, we realized there was this disconnect, and then that led us to pry a bit further, talk about our own respective reporting experiences. And I think we also got some insight from others on the Leadership ITE team, because we do have a well-represented group of leaders within ITE just in this Leadership ITE class. So membership data came from a lot of others beyond our group as well. Team, feel free to jump in if you want to.
Yeah, I can add few. So the idea was originally started when we were at Washington, D.C. doing the brainstorming, what we can do as a group. And we exchanged few ideas, one with Karen as well. And then basically we realized there is some missing connections at the section level data, and we could do something that really IT can use it. And in terms of the real data, what we used in the membership level, as Ray mentioned, we first started with our 5 members groups, sections. We obtained that, and then we realized we could expand further. We get the help from Shelly in one of the classes to request from others. We received inputs from other team members too. So we really appreciate that. So it is really scalable, and we can expand the dashboard to as many sections data as we want to.
Thanks. And a question from Steve. How far beyond demographics do you envision this going, e.g. sponsorship dollars, exhibits, webinars, technical products, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the limitation is just availability of data and the structure to integrate it. I think once that data is refined, like using the example of company names, there was a big upfront lift to go through and figure out. I'm using Kimley Horn because they were the top employer, but Kimley Horn was legitimately spelled 16 different ways in all of our data sets. So some steps up front to kind of code everything, but once that coding is done, it's very easy to just have that live on. So Steve, to your question, I think as much of that you would want to integrate at the like section level reporting. If it's integrated into that section reporting structure, it would be very easy to streamline that into the dashboard tool. But I think we're recognizing that, baby steps might be needed before. There's a lot of bells and whistles you could throw at it, but even just some basic transparency of that membership data could go a long way.
Great. And then last question, I know, Scott, you started responding to this, but from Julia, I also love this idea. Have you thought about how you would manage the various privacy laws? We have very strict privacy laws in Canada around personal information.
Yeah, great question. I can tell you that I've built similar dashboards for crash information that has personal identification PII, and there are strict privacy laws there too. And so what we did for this dashboard as we were creating it was, as we got in these different data sets from different district and section leaders, recognizing and wanting to respect ITE's privacy laws, we deleted out all of the columns of anything personally identifying. So none of that information even makes it in behind the scenes. It's all cleaned and scrubbed at the beginning. And so with some upfront rules established, you could scrub that data so that it never makes it to the dashboard. So you're not getting any kind of names, email addresses, any of that.
Great. Thank you very much. Unite Locally. Next up, we have InnoSafety.
Sorry, I can't find the share button. It's
For me, it's right in the center bottom.
Oh, I got you. So much for having it. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, everybody. My name is Andrew Lewis. I work at the City of Atlanta Department of Transportation. I'm excited today to be presenting along with my team at InnoSafety Solutions on our project about helping public agencies implement the safe system approach. First, I would like to tell you about Kimberly. Kimberly was raised in a country home in Happy, Texas. That's Happy, Texas, the city, but she loved being able to introduce herself. I'm from Happy, Texas. She left Texas, moved to New York after graduating from Texas A&M with her degrees in political science and psychology to receive a master's in city and regional planning at Cornell University. There in New York, she met her best friend Paul, who you see pictured here, and they moved to Atlanta in 2016, which quickly became their home. Kimberly became active in the city planning community here in Atlanta. She was an avid cyclist. Her favorite thing in the whole world was to bike around Atlanta. She became extremely passionate about helping to promote safety for pedestrians and cyclists and safe transportation options for everyone. In 2020, Kimberly accepted her dream job as the City of Atlanta's first Vision Zero manager. In October of 2021, Kimberly joined many of her friends and colleagues at an American Planning Association conference in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And there, while crossing in a crosswalk, Kimberly and 4 other conference goers were struck by a speeding driver. Kimberly would die months later, killed by this car crash and by the injuries that she sustained in it. Kimberly's death was a terrible tragedy, which impacted countless people, obviously, first and foremost, her family, her immediate circle. And I absolutely don't want to take away from that at all in saying that it also impacted us at the City of Atlanta Department of Transportation. I can honestly say that her death had an unquantifiable impact on our Vision Zero program, which she was indescribably passionate about. And I can honestly say she is the face of our Vision Zero program here in Atlanta. Unfortunately, Kimberly's story is not unique. Next slide. This is a scene from a town outside Pittsburgh, but I'm sure many of us have seen scenes just like this in our cities, our towns, our counties, our states, those in Canada, our provinces. Maybe not every single year, maybe it's rarer, maybe in some places it's a lot more frequent than every year, but it is something we see everywhere. Just speaking in the United States, almost 40,000 people died in our roads last year. This is a national problem. You can see that number has increased over the last decade, despite countless millions of dollars, billions of dollars in safety project spending. Every single city, state, county, agency throughout the country is independently trying to tackle this problem. Some of them have been phenomenal successes, being able to drive these numbers down locally and have provided models for the rest of us to follow. Many others have implemented safety programs, have invested tremendous amounts of money, but have just not moved the needle. We believe that there is an opportunity and a need, obviously, for ITE to support public agencies in tackling this problem and moving the needle. And that's where we come in. We are NS Safety Solutions. You can see our team here on the next slide, coming from diverse backgrounds, public and private sectors, mostly on the East Coast of the United States. So I just shared some background on our project. We'll get into a little bit more of it, and Matt will tell you how ITE fits into this problem and where we're headed. We'll share some case studies from agencies that we've interviewed, and finally, we're going to talk about where ITE can go from here after the groundwork that we've laid. Matt?
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthew Skelly. I'm a transportation engineer at Fuss & O'Neill. And as we sat down as a team to talk about this project, we were thrilled to find out that ITE is absolutely in this fight. ITE has developed a transportation safety roadmap and action plan with 5 unique categories of existing and new activities that need to be taken to make a difference. Given our group's background of government agency employment experience, we felt we were uniquely able to contribute to the action item of developing an ITE recommended practice on implementing the safe system approach. While developing an ITE recommended practice would go well beyond the scope of this project, we're excited to share some of the progress that our group made toward that goal. But first, let's take a quick review of what the safe system approach is. I'm sure in this audience, pretty much everyone is familiar with it. The 6 principles and 5 elements of the safe systems approach. But generally speaking, it's a holistic framework for road safety that focuses on designing transportation systems to be forgiving of human error and minimizing the impact of crashes. It's also sometimes referred to as Vision Zero, as you heard Andrew say. This approach originated in Sweden in the 1990s, but here in the States, it's taken on a lot of different forms. And in fact, the truth is that public agencies have not always been successful in implementing the safe system approach. Some agencies are unfamiliar with it. Others are familiar but not committed conceptually. But for those agencies who are committed, we found a number of hurdles or obstacles that came up in the implementation process, and we wanted to take a deeper dive into understanding those. So over the past few months, we've learned a lot about those issues, and I'm going to turn it over to Alvaro to take us through some.
All right. Thank you, Matt. So as part of our project, if you go to the next slide, please, we were able to just interview and talk with representatives from many local agencies across the country, predominantly in the East Coast. So as part of our data collection or gathering of what Matt was mentioning to try to understand the applications of the safe system approach. But our actual first data collection or gathering of information came from the report on the image you see on the left, done by AAA, and also with collaboration with ITE, just kind of summarizing some case studies on successful applications of the safe system approach in some communities that are actually highlighted in blue in the map you see there. So those are locations in California, some state local governments in the areas as well, more as you go east in the map, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, et cetera. So one of our goals is to kind of expand on this, but mainly just kind of tackle the local government agencies that you see in the map in green. So for the sake of time, I want to kind of highlight 4 of the locations and the 4 agencies that we spoke to. So the next slide, please. So the first agency representative we spoke with is from the city of Richmond, Virginia. So it was great to hear an example of a location of an agency that really took this to heart and is a great example of a safe system approach with successful applications. Kind of the main thing we learned is just elevating Vision Zero manager to a senior position, not just having it as a secondary role, has been successful in many key projects being implemented there. And then in general, just the collaboration and the importance of many key stakeholders in the community and the mayor being involved have been great that we saw happening in this city. Next slide, please. We also spoke with a representative from Jacksonville, Florida. Some takeaways here you can see in the slide. They were once ranked number 15 most deadliest areas and most dangerous cities in terms of fatalities, and have now, to number 4. So it's definitely been a challenge, but also good success stories with their just changing the culture and getting a lot of leadership on board. And the next slide, please. And then Atlanta, Georgia, Andrew touched on this earlier, as well as the personal narrative and the unfortunate situation that happened. And, with having Andrew on our team and our group, we're able to interview Atlanta, Georgia as representative, and then just kind of learn a lot of takeaways about just leveraging several federal funds, in order to prioritize sort of projects, especially with the importance that they saw as well in their community. So a lot of challenges, especially with the car-centric culture and just struggling to prioritize different project needs from the community. And then lastly, Louisville, Kentucky. So Louisville is definitely a different location compared to the other cities I just highlighted. They do have a Vision Zero plan, but the staff mentioned that the funding is a big challenge. Having staff is a big challenge. So it's definitely good to hear, a different set of experience and, not the most success story. So kind of have a diverse application or diverse experience from different agencies. So with that, I'll pass it over to Julie, just kind of summarize all this and kind of go where to focus.
You're on mute, Julie.
Thanks, Anna. So we took these case studies and kind of came up with some common themes and some commonalities of positive and negative on what these locations had done. So if you want to go to the next slide. Common themes and roadblocks. Every agency is different. I've had the privilege and the pleasure to work for not only a city DOT, but a state DOT and then a county DOT. So this is very near and dear to me. So one of the biggest things is resources. This is both staffing and funding, lack of clear objectives, politics, Depending on where the message is coming from, the priorities can vary. Authority, do you have staff in place to make the critical decisions? And focus and attention, keeping the common focus and ensuring a follow through with all your initiatives. And then sharing secrets for success. Again, empowering Vision Zero manager position, strengthening political lobbying and funding, both state and federal, building a coalition, get MPOs and TPOs on board to advance projects and initiatives. Find small wins and scale them. Start with small, manageable tasks and projects and scale them for future larger initiatives. Focus on the 4-lane roads. These tend to have significant issues. And then the strong message, ensure all stakeholders understand that this is a matter of life and death. So the next steps. Our project goal was to collect data and share this with ITE for these next steps. So after our project, we're hoping they can further data collection, finalize recommendations, develop an information report, and prepare recommended practices. So the building blocks for informational report and recommended practices. There is no one size fits all approach, as we've mentioned. However, we believe ITE can provide public agencies practical guidance and tools in these 5 areas. Empowering safety champions, thinking outside the road. This includes the safe vehicles, safer people, etc. Maximizing impact, get the most bang for your buck. Moving from reactive to proactive. Solve potential issues before they become problems. And winning hearts, minds, and mandates. We have all been affected by a lack of or difficulties with implementing a safe system approach. In conclusion, to reiterate, the goal for our project was to provide data for future reports and recommended practices to help implement the safe system approach. Thank you.
Thank you, NO Safety. Go ahead and put your questions in the chat. I'll start with, do you have any thoughts on prioritizing some of these goals moving forward so ITE can kind of break it into chunks to work on?
I can take that one. Anna, do you want to go back to that previous slide? So, I think for us, it's just prioritizing, really these against the backdrop of all of the different kind of nitty-gritty individual, chunks of advice or like project recommendations that you might have in kind of organizing all of the information that we might share to public agencies through these, kind of what we found to be the most important, building blocks to be able to help agencies. Within these, probably that one that we ended on of if everybody that you're around, especially like if you're kind of in a silo of like a transportation department or public works or whatever, and you're interacting with all of these people who are not in transportation all day long, it can be a very, very easy sell on why this is like the most important thing that everybody should prioritize if you can get that message right. And I think from there, everything else, you find the resources, you build the team, et cetera.
Hey, thanks. From Rachel, it's such an important message. The Transportation Planning Council is embarking on a parallel effort in this exact topic, so it is very timely. Let's connect. And I think, Rachel, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what the council is doing, but I suspect there'll be a couple of different councils that this hits on. Okay. Nothing else from Rachel. We'll go to Steve. Thanks for the jump start. I'm hoping your group will be available to occasionally jump in and stay involved as we pursue this RP. Oh, yep. Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, are there any other questions for this group? Yeah, but do you have any final thoughts? I know, you started with a really difficult story, and I think this is very personal to a lot of people. Do you think that's something that will really help with the message, trying to get into really personal stories, or is it kind of larger approach.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly what, Matt, I'm sure was saying, this is, uh, when you share these stories and it is personal to everybody, you get those stakeholders on board. I think, we Julie hammered this in, but we would love to say, hey, we've got the silver bullet. This is what everybody, the 5 quick tricks everybody needs to do. And, we'll achieve Vision Zero by next year. And that's just not the reality. And so a lot of it is that organizational structuring that work that agencies need to do to build themselves up to the challenge. And I think we've got some really phenomenal examples throughout the country and throughout North America to kind of get people moving in that direction.
Yeah, I'll add to say that I think really perhaps the biggest overall obstacle is that I think we all have a tendency to let it get away from the personal, and I think that was one of the things that we wanted to try to really bring back to the forefront with this presentation is that like we all need to remember that it is, and even if it's not for you, it is for somebody for sure. So, great question, Sarah.
Okay, great. So we can let other questions trickle in and some more information from Rachel and the Planning Council. No, which came in right now. So Will Capers is leading this effort on applying safety in the long-range planning process for TPC. This will start as a technical brief. So I think that that's a good future work opportunity. But yeah, if there are any more questions, drop them in the chat. If not, thank you very much, InnoSafety. Looking forward to the next steps on this one. Oh, one more from Solomon. How do we best engage outside of the immediate engineering family to strengthen our coalition building?
I could jump in with a stab at that one. I think like the way that we tried to bring this up to our engineering family here by like a reminder that this is a personal issue is definitely a great tool to use. Reminding everybody that this is a real issue that faces our community and not just an accident, not something that can't be prevented. Like we can all make a difference in that, and I think reminding people of that is important.
Time.
Thanks. We'll jump into our 5th group, Atholite. Go ahead.
Great, I think we're ready. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Emily Huffnell. I'm speaking on behalf of the Atholites team. Today we'll be discussing the value of partnerships between ITE and the external organizations across various leadership levels, highlighting the critical role these relationships play in strengthening ITE's mission, membership, and impact, and increasing the value in those partnerships. So I want to start us off today with posing a little question. That being, how many professional organizations are you currently a member of? Go ahead and take a second to share that in the chat if you would like. And as those come in, I encourage you all to reflect on how many of those organizations are similar in focus. So as I see in the chat here, a lot of ones, which is awesome. 4, 3, 2. So basically, it's clear that the opportunities for professional engagement are abundant. A lot of us are a part of many organizations, myself included. And, those offer something different, and they all kind of have us coming back for one reason or another. But with limited time and tight budgets, what if you had to choose only one of those organizations to be involved with? Would you choose ITE if it came down to that? You don't have to answer that, but as we continue through our presentation, I invite you to keep that question in mind as we explore the value and impact of our affiliations throughout the presentation. And before we go a little deeper, as a member of multiple organizations, I'm curious to know if you have ever run into one of these situations. Let's start with Atusa, where she'll tell us a story of being involved in multiple organizations.
Thanks, Emily. Like so many of you that shared earlier, I'm part of several professional organizations across the board. But I have a very deep appreciation for the mission and communities of Oregon ITE as well as WTS Portland. And I'm so passionate to support both of them in their effort. Through my involvement in both organizations, I observed events that are overlapping with the topics were scheduled within a short time frame. And in some cases, other Oregon ITE or WTS Portland might not pursue compelling topic only because it was recently covered by other organizations. Recognizing this pattern and my passion with both organizations, I started initiating conversation aimed at encouraging more coordination and exploring opportunities to co-host and align events, enhancing value for our members with reducing the redundancy. Back to Emily.
Awesome. And if that story doesn't quite connect with you, I'm going to bring on Stephen now to discuss his story.
Thanks, Emily. So I'm a professional urban planner and RPP designation. I need my designation in order to do my job. It's what allows me to be an expert witness, to review and submit on technical studies. But I'm a transportation planner, and the urban planning environment tends to focus on the urban planning space and its growth. And ITE is where I want to grow and is where I want my professional growth to occur. I have a tension, though, in that I need that designation in order to do my job. So I dread the condition where I'm being told that there's only one organization I could be part of. Thanks.
Thank you both for sharing those stories. And, you know, these are only two of many examples that we can face being members in multiple organizations. But why is this important? And why is being involved in multiple organizations a problem? Well, at its core, it's not. Each organization offers something a little different, as I said earlier, that makes you keep coming back. But with many uncertainties in the world right now, what can ITE do to help with that? And ITE is already looking at 3 priority areas right now that a few of us have heard this directly from ITE leadership within the past few months. The main priority areas are membership growth and retention, value of products and services, and organizational strength. And what happens to those areas during these uncertain times? Membership is one of the first things that we see start to go down during financial difficulties. And we're nothing without our amazing membership. The value of products and services and the strength of the organization also start to go down when membership goes down. But it doesn't have to if we have a way to determine organizations to partner with. But determining who to partner with is not the problem. ITE already has a process of identifying organizations they partner with and which ones they want to engage more with. The logos you see on screen are organizations that ITE has identified to have some form of partnership with. That's approximately 60 organizations. Now, we imagine ITE doesn't have the time or resources to focus strongly on each organization equally, helping build that partnership. And this is where our new database comes in. We took ITE's current process and expanded on it by collecting data from international, district, and section leadership to see who is partnering with these various organizations and at what level of leadership the partnership was being held. We then took that information to identify 3 key relationships. The first one being an informal relationship. We've identified this relationship as a connection between organizations maintained primarily through personal relationships, shared goodwill, or mutual interest, without any formal structure, defined roles, or strategic objectives. This relationship is least labor intensive, meaning it's an organization relationship that requires minimal time, effort, and resources to maintain. The second key relationship we've identified is an affiliation. We identified this relationship as a beneficial connection between organizations centered around knowledge exchange, joint visibility, and informal collaboration, such as co-promoted events, shared learning opportunities, and courtesy advertising, without the recommendation of formal contracts or strategic plans. This relationship's moderately labor intensive as it requires some more coordination, communication, and planning, but the time and resources can be spread across both organizations. Lastly, the third key relationship is formal. We've identified this relationship as a connection between organizations established through mutual agreements, such as joint programming, like shared meetings or conferences, a memo of understanding, and coordinated benefits for the members. The ideal formal relationship is one that the organization has aligned goals as ITE, which will help maximize the collective impact for both ITE and the other organization. A formal relationship also indicates to ITE that this is a high priority organization to work with and one to focus on. So this relationship is the most labor intensive due to the need for coordination, planning, documentation, and defined roles and expectations. But where are these relationships being held? We've identified 3 key relationships and what work would need to be done for each one, but the next step was looking at the 3 key places of leadership within ITE, which is the international, district, and section levels. The main reason we want to identify the relationship between ITE and an organization at different leadership levels is because it allows the time and resources to be spent where the partnership would provide the most valuable outcome for ITE. So we're going to look at a couple of examples. The first being the Women's Transportation Seminar, or WTS. It's an organization dedicated to advancing women and underrepresented groups in the transportation industry through diversity, inclusion, and equity. WTS is already recognized by ITE as a partner that they want to work more with, and districts and sections have identified that they have existing ties with their local chapters. Given WTS's strong mission, alignment, and national presence, we recommend formalizing our partnership at the international level to reinforce its strategic value. We also suggest districts and sections establish affiliation level relationships to encourage joint events, shared promotions, and better resource coordination, ultimately saving time while strengthening local engagement. Our next example is the Canadian Institute of Planners, or CIP, similar in nature to that of the American Planning Association. This organization offers educational and professional resources for planners through all stages of their career. Due to the organization's national scope and the potential for regional policy differences, we recommend formalizing a relationship at the district level to ensure alignment and effective communication, or coordination as well. At the section level, we suggest maintaining an informal relationship. This is mainly due to duplicating efforts is unnecessary for this. Sections can collaborate with their districts as needed and share their time and resources. And our final example is the American Society of Highway Engineers, or ASHE, an organization that promotes a safe, efficient, and sustainable transportation system through education, innovation, and fellowship. While many ITE districts and sections already collaborate informally with ASHE, it's not currently listed as an official partner with ITE, which is a gap that was highlighted in our initial survey. Given ASHE's mission and local alignment, we recommend establishing an affiliation level relationship at the section level to support joint programs and maximize the member value. At the district level, we suggest an informal relationship due to mismatched geographic boundaries. And for the international level, we also recommend an informal connection for now to maintain flexibility while monitoring potential future alignment. The reason being is by reserving formal relationships for where they bring the most value, we can keep ITE's partnership network focused, sustainable, but still impactful, which leads to our next step of our project. As we started to wrap up this project, we started looking into our findings and some lessons learned, which brings our next steps. The first being exploring opportunities for future growth. We see potential for expanding this effort in the future, but first, a larger database is recommended. Our initial survey didn't have as many responses as we had hoped for, but we think we could gather more. We also recommend including committees as a location for relationships to be held, in addition to international, district, and sections. We believe there is an opportunity for relationships to be very valuable at the committee levels. The second being, build on what's already working. We aren't trying to rewrite ITE's current process of determining partnership tiers. Rather, we want to overlay our alignment analysis so that it's easier to see where each relationship delivers the most value. The third is recategorize relationships to optimize resources. Recategorizing the partnerships where needed based off of alignment can help spread out our resources. Downgrade formal ties that drain our resources, or even elevate informal ones that show clear strategic benefits. The last, number 4, is use the partnership evaluation tool to triage the relationships. At the end of the day, our hope is to systematically assess current organizational relationships using the tool and database we've developed. This will help leadership at all levels through ITE identify which partnerships are thriving, which need more support, and where new opportunities may lie. And as we talked about these next steps, evaluating, categorizing, and building on existing relationships, it's important to remember why this work matters. And this work matters because it helps our members, like the stories we shared at the beginning of this presentation. Stories like Atusa's, where overlapping events stretch volunteers and resources, and Stevens, where financial constraints force tough choices about membership. They highlight the real-world impact of how partnerships are structured. They aren't just administrative challenges, they directly shape the member experience too. And importantly, how does strengthening partnerships, focusing on where the relationships are best held, help ITE? It can help advance all 3 priority areas of ITE. Membership growth and retention. When ITE collaborates with organizations our members already support, it helps reduce competition, keeping members active in ITE. Value in products of services, joint conferences, webinars, expand our network experts, diversify content, and expose members to new ideas, enhancing the quality and relevance of ITE's technical offerings. Organizational strength. Shared efforts lower operational costs, reduce redundancy in the community, and help us stretch limited budgets further. It allows ITE to prioritize value while remaining agile and resilient. In short, the right relationships and partnerships strategically triaged and aligned at the appropriate level help strengthen ITE's foundation, extend its reach, and help ensure ITE continues to deliver meaningful experiences to members across the profession. I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for your time and attention today. We really appreciate the opportunity to share the project we've been working on. We've all been having a lot of fun with it. Before we open for questions, I just want to take a moment to introduce the rest of this amazing team who helped contribute to this project. First being Austin from WSP in Kentucky, Stephen from GHD in Canada, myself from Delaware Department of Transportation, and Atusa from the Oregon Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you, Athelite. I'll open for questions. I'll start with my question. It sounds a lot like, work smarter, not harder, but you have a lot of siloed groups. Do you think that's sort of a matter of having one person who's really involved in 2 different organizations to kind of create these larger events, the district section level potentially, or, how do you see that kind of playing out?
Stephen, you look like you're thinking. You want to go?
I think the work smarter, not harder is exactly it, because those organizations where we have the relationships, Sarah, we want to make sure that they don't rely on one person like Atusa's Energy in order to kind of deliver that relationship with WTS. We know what that is so that it can be handed over as the committees and councils and the membership evolve. And so by identifying where those formal relationships are and what's included in an informal, it has like more staying power, and it's not just relying on the energy of one person to get to something moving. That's really what we're trying to or it's a key element that we're trying to deliver out of this.
And another question too, because we talked about, U.S. agency or groups and Canadian groups. Do you think that we talked a little bit about international, but is it a lot of more local stuff that you focus on initially, or is it really a top-down kind of approach at the start?
I think that depends on the organization. So that's why we broke it down into 3 different types. So like WTS is something that a lot of us locally know, but they align so well at the international level that it makes sense to kind of look at that from a top-down approach. But then organizations like ASHI, so another example there, I'm in both in Kentucky, so it makes a lot more sense to kind of keep that at the local level. And then with that district, they're not aligned one-to-one, so it definitely helps to look at it from that local perspective for that one.
Great, thanks. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so feel free to chime in, raise your hand if any thoughts from the audience. Thanks, Anna Maria. How would IT go about making these partner recommendations to districts or sections?
You want to go, Stephen?
Sure. How would I, so again, pointing back to how Emily presented our categorization between the three of them, the intent is really to build that framework so that the relationship can be said, section, we know that this belongs here. And we'd recommend pursuing down these paths, using these tools in order to put the right amount of effort in to each relationship for the necessary kind of value and outcome for the membership. And so it's really providing that framework and those mechanisms at the district and section level so that there's not too much effort that's spent in specific places, but at the same time, they know what right looks like.
And kind of to add on to a little bit, something that just kind of popped into my head. There's a lot of organizations that we kind of assume that people know about. But I think maybe now having a database or saying like, hey, relationships might be really strong for this organization at the district. Well, the district may not even know that they're local, that they're available to work with. So having a database and a kind of that list may also help the districts and sections to kind of reach out to other organizations and partner those events.
From an event perspective, are you thinking about like a one-off sort of technical presentation, or are you sort of like a larger kind of multi-day conference or annual meeting that you might partner with an agency or another group time to time?
I think, Sarah, what I'd highlight is the fact that there's opportunities for just things that need way less work to keep ITE in front of the membership and relevant to those people in the affiliated things, including just sharing information lists, kind of cross-advertising, cross-discussing informally, making sure that the networks are open to each other. And I think that is really a lot of the sweet spot in using and putting our resources in, like the limited volunteer and limited staff resources into IT, into those organizations that have the highest return for membership, but also keep us in front of everybody and know that the right amount of effort is getting put in the right place in each case.
Time. Thank you very much. It's well done. Thanks, Athlete. We will move on to our last presentation of the afternoon, Next Gen Navigators.
Alrighty. Right. So I guess Sarah, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Board members and the council leadership team. Have you ever felt that you or a young professional you know could thrive with a bit more support? Many of us may have experienced moments in our careers where we didn't get the support, the guidance, or the mentorship we needed. That's why we are here today. As Next Gen Navigators, we are excited to share this roadmap that will help IT support and retain young professionals. I'll be sharing the challenges of young professionals through these stories, the stories of Eli, Nicole, and Josh. These stories aren't unique. So as I'm sharing them, I would like you to think back on your own early careers. You may remember Eli from our Shark Tank presentation. He was the president of the IT student section and is now an entry-level employee. He does not receive employer support for IT participation. And also his work engagements do not allow him the time to be able to attend section meetings. Did you receive the support from your employer for IT participation? And where would you have been if you didn't receive that support? Now meet Nicole. She loves traffic design work, but she will still love the opportunity to be able to do something new, such as public engagement. Now, if you think back on your own career, did you get the diverse work opportunities that you were seeking? And what would your career have been like if you didn't get those career opportunities or diverse work opportunities? Now let's meet Josh. Josh's employer doesn't provide him the opportunities for career growth. And now he's close to leaving the transportation industry altogether. When you were a junior or mid-level employee, did you get the opportunity to lead any projects or be in a leadership role? Eli, Nicole, and Josh's stories aren't exceptions. All these challenges I've shared lead young professionals to leave our industry. So as an IT leader today, what can you do to retain these young professionals? We, the National Navigators, have started this effort and developed a roadmap to help IT lead the way in supporting and retaining young professionals. Based on the challenges that I've shared of Eli, Nicole, and Josh, we developed a roadmap around a mission and 4 priority areas. The priority areas are marketing and member communications, learning opportunities, career growth and guidance, and networking and member connections. Under each of these priority areas, we've defined a goal, identified the existing activities that IT is already undertaking, and proposed actions that IT can undertake to further support and retain young professionals. We've also identified potential champions that can take these actions further and help implement them. The Young Professional Roadmap outlines IT's current programs and future initiatives to support young professionals in their career development, leadership growth, and engagement within the transportation industry. The roadmap also ensures that young professionals have access to a consistent and supportive experience across all IT districts, sections, and chapters, while enhancing the opportunities to strengthen the young professional community. Now let's take a deeper dive into the roadmap and the priority areas. Like I said, for each priority area, we have a goal, we have existing actions and proposed actions, and then potential champions. We've identified about 3 to 4 actions per priority area, but in the interest of time, I'll only be sharing the key actions for each priority area. So the first priority area is marketing and member communications. And the goal for this priority area is to provide young professionals with the tools needed to gain employer support to be involved in ITE. And the key action here we're proposing is to develop a benefits of ITE handout that will be geared towards different audiences. Potential champions we see here that could lead this action are the YMC and the employer councils. Our next priority area is learning opportunities. And our goal here is to improve learning opportunities for young professionals in order to enhance career progression and retention within our industry. A key action for this priority area is to expand the range of technical topics we have on the IT Learning Hub. And potential champions we see here are the technical councils and the Professional Development Standing Committee. Our third priority area is career growth and guidance. This priority area aims to provide events and programs that support career networking and leadership training for young professionals. And a key action for this priority area is to develop an early career leadership program that will be geared towards professionals within a 3 to 5 year experience range. A potential champion we see for this action is the employer councils. And our fourth and last priority area is networking and member connections. And the goal for this priority area is to provide opportunities to connect, collaborate, participate, and network with other members and peers. A key action for this priority area is strengthening mentorship networks at the districts, sections, and chapter levels. So the potential champions we see for this action are the YMC and or the local district section or chapter leadership. Now let's talk about how this roadmap can be implemented. We recommend that the younger member committee own this roadmap and that they would identify the annual actions that should be undertaken and also conduct annual reviews to be able to see where improvements are needed. We also recommend that this roadmap be fully rolled out within 3 to 5 years. And last but not the least, as reflected in the identified champions that I shared, we recommend that a dispersed implementation model will be used to roll out this roadmap. But while we identify the IMC to own this roadmap, the YMC is not fully equipped to be able to implement this roadmap on their own. The YMC has challenges of their own, and we would like to share what those are. First, the YMC has a limited volunteer capacity. And the YMC also has institutional knowledge loss. This is partly because most of us think that the YMC is only for members that are 35 and younger. And due to this belief, the YMC loses members that actually have the experience to be able to continue and share the knowledge that they have with the younger ones. And so a lack of continued involvement is missing there. The third challenge we see is limited guidance and advocacy. For this particular challenge, we think that, we recommend that there be an iBoard liaison to the YMC. And this liaison will be able to provide the needed guidance, represent the issues that the YMC are concerned about, and be able to elevate those priorities to the board. So I'd like to ask this question of the leadership here today. Who here will raise their hand to be that liaison? And perhaps if you can raise your hand, you may be able to type in the chat so that we have one today. This plan is too important to fail. It's important for our members, for our industry, and for IT as a whole. So today we are asking of 3 key things from you. The first is that you endorse this implementation of the roadmap. And by so doing, you signal to the entire IT that you're behind this roadmap and all will be on board to ensure this implementation is done. We also ask that any materials from this roadmap you help share and disseminate around the entire ITE. Our second ask, as I've shared already, and I hope someone has already put in the chat, is that we have an iBoard liaison to the YMC that helps with strategic guidance and growth for the YMC. And last but not least is that we all and the leadership from the sections to the districts and the chapters encourage members to join the YMC. We believe by so doing would help grow the YMC volunteer capacity and be able to help move this roadmap as we wanted to. Now let's go back to the stories that I shared of Eli, Nicole, and Josh. And imagine that with this roadmap implemented, the stories of Eli, Nicole, and Josh change for the better. So now Eli's employer now supports his IT membership. And he's actually able to go back to his alma mater and be able to also help mentor young students. What about Nicole? Nicole, through the extended webinars and expanded soft skills training that's offered on the IT Learning Hub, has now been able to demonstrate the skills that she gained from the Learning Hub and now has the opportunity to be able to work on diverse work projects. Last, what about Josh? Josh completed the early career training and is also involved in the revamped mentorship program. He's now a leader at his firm and is also the IT president for his section. These are not hypothetical outcomes. They are our future we can help shape. So I ask that we take the opportunity today and this time to be able to help, support, and retain our young professionals. Before we wrap up our presentation, we thank you for listening to us and giving us the opportunity to be able to present to you. For now, we welcome any questions you may have.
Thanks, Next Gen Navigators. As we have people write questions in the chat, I'd like to start with some of the leadership training that you're talking about now that the 5 of you have finished, or almost finished LeadershipITE, and you're proposing you're proposing leadership opportunities for people 3 to 5 years in their career. Could you talk a little bit about how that would be separate, distinct from LeadershipITE, who you think would manage a program like that? Would it be international, or would it be sort of a district section chapter kind of initiative? Do you have thoughts on that?
So I'll start and I'll invite my group members to also join in. What we're thinking is LeadershipITE is primarily for, at least based on our understanding, is for those that have already shown some leadership potentials already in their careers. And we also see that most of those are pretty much those that have experiences more than 5 years. So for this particular leadership program, we are thinking it's geared towards those that are perhaps very close from just early careers, like 3 to 5 years, and that would help them gain some experience into also leading, and not like what we have with the LeadershipITE training. Whether it would be done at the international level or the district or section level is something I think we can perhaps explore.
And I think one of the things that we had discussed when we kind of talked about this is wanting to work with the LeadershipITE team to make sure that there's no duplication of anything, because it's a great program. We don't want to step on the toes of it, but we understand that there's ways for people to go ahead and take ownership of the work, take that next step as an entry level into that mid-level place where they can start being a little bit more of a task lead, where they understand how to go ahead and navigate different things such as difficult conversations, not just with people who are having client discussions, but just internal too.
And then a question coming in from Karen. We'll admit, I thought the YMC was only for younger members. How can we rename the committee to indicate that the group is not just made up of young members, but it is a group? Sorry. made up of young members, is a group that supports younger members, not unlike how our K-12 STEM committee is a group of all age members organized for the benefit of young students.
Sorry, Tal, any thoughts there?
Yeah, so this has been something that we've kind of started thinking about and looking into as we've so if you're not aware, I am the co-chair of the YMC at the international level, and this is one of the things that we've kind of started batting around, going, how do we make sure that people understand and endorse this? Because we do have multiple members right now who are in that 37 to 40 year age like range, and they keep saying, hey, you know what? I've aged out. I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'm like, why not? Well, it's just no longer my time. I need to let the next people be part of it. And we're like, no, you're more than welcome to be part of it. But we don't understand that whole name is a difficulty. So what we've been trying to do is putting in like the IT journal for June. We've been advocating for people who are still in the early career professionals and even people who are still like wanting to be young at heart, saying that yes, we have the name younger member, but it's not really defined by age. But as far as how to really negate that, yeah.
It's also a communication piece that can be supported through ITE, just to indicate that it doesn't have to be just people 35 years and under. It's just making it more aware that it can be open to all ages and people in various stages of their career.
Is the goal to have sort of the leadership of the committee be kind of in the younger member group, so it gives younger members an opportunity to sort of start taking on those larger leadership roles as like sort of in a safe space?
I don't think we've directly talked about it, but I know with how we're currently doing a transition for one of the co-chairs, we have actually looked into having a student be the co-chair. And so we're trying to get a little bit younger, making sure there's more longevity and making sure that it has that inclusive nature just for the student aspect. But I think it's more of like an advisory slash helping hand role that the older members would be understanding that it's still serving the younger members specifically and making sure that they still have leadership opportunities.
Time.
Can we
Thank you.
our final slide if possible?
Oh yeah, yep, real quick.
Thanks. So we would like to leave with this message. The future of transportation is in the hands of the young. Let's empower them with knowledge, networking, and opportunities to thrive. Thanks again.
Thanks, Next Gen Navigators. I'd like to take an opportunity to open the floor for Steve to say a few words. Assuming we didn't lose Steve. Well, I'll give Steve a minute to come back, but I'll share my thoughts on this. This is the 12th class that we have had presentations from. Oh, there's Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just been talking? Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
no,
You
now I can
didn't
hear
miss
you.
much.
Okay.
You didn't miss much. I just want to congratulate this class. I look forward to this each year when Leadership ITE presents their thoughts. Your ideas and suggestions on member service and member growth are always welcome. But obviously, the importance of this is you working together as a team, working on multidisciplinary projects. Uh, this is going to help you in your professional career, in your ITE journey, and in so many other ways. I will say that group number 5, the Atholite group, I'd like to have a discussion about name, image, and likeness because I did see my picture on your slides. So, I think I want a little remuneration there at some point for that. But overall, thank you, Leadership ITE. Thank you, Sarah, and all the work that you do, and Kathy and the group. It's always fantastic. I enjoy this each year. So thank you all.
Thanks, Steve, for those nice words. Yeah, I think we are always really excited to share these presentations with IBOD and the larger IT community. Having seen multiple years of this, I think it's been getting better and better as we go through some iterations of this that we see the deep dives that the teams do. And so I'd like to thank everyone. Very excited to see all of you in person in August in sunny Orlando. And thanks everyone for attending, and well done to the class.